So this week, the Pack announced their media deal for the 2025 season, with ESPN, CBS, and the CW all broadcasting numerous home games for Washington State and Oregon State. Now, if you're a Fresno State fan, this really doesn't impact you very much for this upcoming season, except for the Oregon State game. That'll be on September 6th, 12:30 Fresno time on the CW, and it can get hot in Core Valley that time of year, so if you're planning to make the road trip, just be prepared. And that's set in stone, not going to change, so, it's a game that any Bulldog fan can watch and follow in the country. And that really is kind of the theme for this deal for this season. Oregon State and Washington State clearly wanted games that could be visible for everyone to see. And, they hold the Oregon State, for example, we hosting Cal at 7:30 and Houston same time a couple weeks later on ESPN. Washington State and Oregon State will also be playing each other on CBS November 1st for their first matchup of the year. They play each other twice. And then Washington State will play will host Washington on CBS at 4:30. All these games are visible for the entire country. And what is the thing that people are most interested in is how this will impact the long-term contract for the 2026 pack going to the 30s. And what hints that we could get for who might those media partners be. I think the CW is obvious. They're going to be a partner in 2026. ESPN, that was always a strong possibility. I gave it more than 50-50 myself. I also think that ESPN is a pack partner. St. Mary's will eventually join the conference because that channel loves to have them play Gonzaga. The St. Mary Gonzaga matchup is pretty much the bread and butter of a lot of ESPN late night matchups in the West Coast Conference. So if ESPN also wanted to have a part of Pac-12 Enterprises over a year ago, they probably still want a piece of it, And I would not surprise me if there's some deal in the works to make that happen in exchange for becoming a partner. If I was the Pac, what I'd be telling ESPN is, look, you want a piece of Pac-12 Enterprises? Okay, but we also want you to try and get the wayward sons, if you will, in the ACC and Big 12 that you also are major stakeholders in to come home. The Arizona schools, Cal and Stanford, come on, ESPN. If you do that, we will make something happen for you with this deal. That's what I would be doing. The third partner is CBS. Now, I personally want to have TNT Sports over CBS. All right? If you're a fan of Mountain West, you know how bad it is on CBS Sports Network, how you miss entire quarters in football because of how bad it can get. All right? That's how awful it is. Now, if CBS says we want to have a doubleheader, we want to have our own After Dark thing on our main channel, that's different. And CBS might be trying to do that. They don't have a particularly good Big Ten package right now. I think they get like the third game, depending on what NBC gets every week, but they don't get the top billing, that's Fox. So it wouldn't surprise me if they want to try and get in that pie as well. This deal and the reaction to it also shows there's a definite market and desire from college fans and media partners for a Pac-12 After Dark, for the Pac-12 brand to play. And that's something the Mountain West does not have. That is something that if you're a fan of, let me put it this way. There is no cry for Mountain West After Dark. But there is one for Pac-12 After Dark. And that type of brand that is so iconic will be so visible moving forward. And it's still desired. So, again, if you're a Fresno State fan, or any of these teams join the pack, you should be very happy you're going to be in it. There's also some transfer portal news as well for Fresno State this week. Men's basketball added a Clemson transfer, Jake Heidenbreder, I think his name is. Yeah, he's a guard. He was at Air Force originally. I think he was an All Mountain West player there. I think, could be wrong, but that's a good signing for Vance Wahlberg. He needs more of that. He bragged about having a war chest with his friends. Well, now that's the way to prove it, I believe. I mean, look, if he's a starter at Clemson, he's sure enough to start at Fresno State. I'll put it that way. We need more of that. Football also got numerous transfers as well. Utah cornerback Sammy Hunter has come in. A pair of wide receivers. From one guy from Maryland, Ezekiel Abbott, and Luke Jones from Purdue. The biggest one is the transfer from Sacramento State. He's a quarterback, Carson Conklin, something like that. And he played last year when Sacramento State came to Fresno State. He threw for over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he went like 20 or 37, something like that. And this is a very interesting move, in my opinion, because it makes you wonder, did Joshua Woods know this is going to happen and that's why he transferred out? Or was this the reverse, and after Woods left, they contacted Conklin? It's very interesting because the hints you got from the Woods people was that it was never open competition and so forth. So, it was that stacked against him. If he knew that this other quarterback was coming in, he sure as hell knew then he was never going to be the starter this season. I'd be very interested to hear Matt Ennis really talks about this. I'd love to hear the backstory. But now we've got another quarterback added to the off-season workouts. I still think it could be E.J. Warner just because of his seniority and decision-making that they want in this offense. But who knows? That's why you have an open competition. So that about wraps things up for this week. Pac-12 got a deal for this season with hints about who the media partners will be from 2026 to 31. And Fresno State got some transfers in basketball and football.